What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I kind of wanted to make some type of new segment on this channel. Like I have the SWI's, the Still Worth It ins, whatever, but that's more so of like a full in-depth review. But I want to make a whole separate thing, and I've already done like 30 of these videos, but pretty much where I just go more in depth about like specific use technology, whether that is phones, iPads, usually it's probably going to be one or the other, but kind of talking about why these specific devices are still awesome pickups and why they're still really good values in 2019. You know, obviously we have the Note 10s, we have the iPhone 11s, all those ones, and I've been talking about used phones on this channel for so long, but I need some type of catchy name. If you guys have any catchy names, let me know. I like SWI's. Well, Double Eyes SWI was the original name, but SWI's sounded so much better. Somebody actually recommended that, so I changed it. But in this specific video, we're going to be talking about the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge and why this phone could potentially be probably the best value per dollar, but I'm not going to give it that title yet. But it's definitely still an awesome pickup in 2019. Now, with all these new Samsung phones coming out, we can't forget about the older ones that are still super dope. So the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge came out in 2016, so it's over 3 years old at this point. But in my opinion, I still think it's an awesome pickup. And in this video, I might go and like kind of dog on some other phones in the same lineup, but it's all for good intent. And most specifically, I'll probably end up dogging on the Note 10, but one of the coolest things about the S7 Edge is the screen and just the size of it and how beautiful it is. Now, when you look at it, you might be off put by like, oh my god, so much bezel, this or that, but it's really not that big of a deal. You kind of get used to it, in my opinion. But I love how on this phone, which a lot of other phones really don't even have, especially in this price tag, in this price range, the screen edges out, so it like peels off to the side, which gives it that super dope effect, and it feels so premium. But that has a lot to do with the screen itself. So it is 1440p, it's 5.5 inches, and even though it's not the biggest screen in the world, it's not the craziest thing, that screen itself, the Super AMOLED screen with a high resolution, is such a good display. Even now in 2019, even going in 2020, there's still a lot of phones that can't even keep up with this specific screen. In my opinion, this phone has a better screen than the brand new released $1,000 Note 10, which is, you know, believe it or not, that's a crazy thing, but that's kind of what I see. So the screen itself, a beautiful thing. And talking about the speed and performance, like yes, it's not going to be the fastest thing in the world. It does have 4 gigs of RAM, which isn't the craziest. It does only have a Snapdragon 820, but in my opinion, for a huge majority of people, I think this phone is completely sufficient. You just can't let your phone get bogged down with like all these different apps running in the background and all these different things, you know, which tends to be the biggest problem. But I think overall the speed and performance of this phone will definitely do you justice. It's not going to be a horrible performing phone. It's not going to be the fastest. If you compare this to something like a Galaxy Note 10, yes, there is going to be quite a bit of difference. But as long as you kind of keep them, you know, a little separate, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal at all, in my opinion. Now this next thing is actually 3 different things combined into one, okay? So the headphone jack, I know I hate saying it because it's so cringy now, but a lot of people still like the headphone jack, and believe it or not, I'm not one of these people. You might not be one of these people either, but there's still a vast majority of people out there who are like, man, I don't want to go away from the headphone jack. I want to keep it on my phone. I want it this or that. So this phone still has it if you're into it. Also, the fingerprint sensor, which in my opinion, the way we're going, you know, especially with my phone, my main phone I use every day is an iPhone 10, and the things I would do to get back a Touch ID sensor or a fingerprint sensor, and this phone does have it embedded into the home button, so could be a pro, could be a con. In my opinion, I find it a pro. And this next third thing in this specific lineup would be the microSD card slot, which this itself could be its own thing. And that is something that the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 doesn't have either, but this phone has it, which is amazing. I love the microSD card slot. I find it to be one of the most important things, especially when you consider the price. You can go and get one of these things, you know, for the base model for 32 gigs, but you can just throw in a microSD card slot and be set. So that's definitely an awesome thing in my opinion. Now, also looking at the cameras, bro, this thing has a solid sensor on the back, and the cool thing about it is that not only is the sensor pretty decent, it's a single sensor, you know, I'll give it that, you know, it's not like a quad camera that we have nowadays, but it gets the photos done, it gets the job done. Also, the software, in my opinion, is very good. I've always said this, I love Samsung camera software. They just throw all the features that they have at the time and kind of go with it, so I definitely do like that a lot. So the camera is another one of those features that the S7 Edge just balls out on. Now the next thing is a little subjective, and I'll talk about it in a second, but it's the battery. You know, on stock it has a 3600 mAh battery, which is a very big battery. It's bigger than the Samsung Galaxy Note 10's battery, but you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt because over time batteries do degrade. So this thing was released in 2016. I would find it really hard to believe whether it still would have that 3600 mAh battery. It probably has degraded now, so it's probably like 33, 32, whatever it is, I don't know. but I don't think it would be at that full 3600 anymore. So, but with that being said, you can go and replace it. It's not the easiest process, but you have that ability. You can just go buy a battery online or eBay or whatever to replace it yourself. Obviously, don't do it unless you're capable of doing it, but that, that is something. But on stock, 3600, huge battery in my opinion for this device. Now this last thing I want to hit on is more so on the software side, and that would be the custom ROM support. So it's not the easiest process to root this specific phone, but once you do have it rooted, the possibilities are endless, dude. So this thing stopped being supported by Android on Android Oreo, so it didn't get One UI, but some people have found ways to port One UI into this. Now the stability, obviously it varies on which ROM you flash on and everything. That One UI ROM might not be the most stable, but you have that ability. You also have tons of like AOSP ROMs and Lineage OS and so many different Android Pie ROMs that I've seen. Also super stable Android Oreo ROMs as well. And once Android 10 comes out, a ton of people are going to start probably developing it for this phone as well. So even though this phone, you might think nobody uses it or whatever, there's some forums out there like the XDA forums that kind of showcase that people are still talking about this phone and people still like it. So in my opinion, I think that the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge is still an awesome deal. I mean, I've seen these things go for less than like $80, which is an insane value in my opinion. I mean, that's like a tenth of the price, less than a tenth of the price of the Note 10, and you're getting a very solid phone. So if you're in a pinch, if you need a phone temporarily or even for like a year or two, I would recommend getting this phone, custom ROM it, do what you need to do. But in my opinion, the Samsung Galaxy S7 Edge is an awesome value in 2019. So if you have any questions or anything, leave it down in the comment section below. Hit that like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. Every single subscriber that we get really does count, so it means so much if you guys could hit that. Also check out the other links down in the description as well. My Twitter, my Instagram, my second channel. All those links are linked down below. I'd really appreciate if you guys could check it out. But more importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. And hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.